Hey, this is Jeff Hyman with Startup Therapist, where we focus on the people part of startups, and we have a wonderful people with us today, Lindsay Gaskins of Marbles. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Lindsay is the co-founder and CEO and just a brilliant entrepreneur, so I'll briefly introduce her, and we're going to focus on two main things today. We're going to focus on how to build a successful business that has both retail and online or e-tail components. And then we're going to talk about the specific challenges that some women entrepreneurs or founders face. Lindsay has been through that, of course. So those are our two main topics today. Take about 20 minutes. I think you'll really enjoy it. Let me briefly introduce you, Lindsay, and you can correct me if I get any of this wrong, but I think you started your career in consulting and then spent some time at Sears, so I assume you learned the retail business. Joined a VC firm, and within that firm, Sandbox kind of incubated the idea for Marbles.
Exactly.
And you were CEO pretty much from the beginning.
Yes.
And you continue that today, years later. So with that, welcome. And why don't we start with just a brief overview of Marbles, just so people understand, in case there's maybe not a store in their city.
Sure. If you don't know about Marbles, I'll tell you about it. It's a retail store. We have stores and an online site. We sell products to stimulate and strengthen your brain. We started in 2008. We have 33 stores, soon to be 42 stores by the end of the year across the country. We really focus on games, gifts, and gadgets, all things that will make your brain stronger. And we have a very hands-on approach in the store where we have brain coaches that help you find the perfect gift for your brain. And then online as well, we give a lot of content around why a product will be good for your brain. And how people are using it to enhance their brain. So that's our focus, and we really focus on the idea of neuroplasticity, or the idea that you can continue to grow brain cells throughout your lifetime. So we're not just focused on the children's market where people are building their brains. We're focused on the entire brain market, which is, as we all are aging, also a population that needs brain strengthening.
Roughly speaking, how much of the business is kind of kids-focused versus adult-focused?
I think it's the end user can be anywhere, I think, 50-50 in some cases. Yeah. When we started, it was more focused on adult. We found that people really love the products for their families. So we have a little bit more of a kids focus than we did when we first started. But we're trying to stay clean to the idea that adults need to keep their brains strong as well.
Great. And I've been in some of the stores as well as online. It seems like it's a premium experience. So as opposed to Amazon, which is kind of lowest price, you really surround the products with a lot of content. Your staff's amazing. I'm assuming they're pretty well compensated. Safe to say you're kind of going for a premium positioning in the brand and the experience?
Exactly, yes. We really want it to be more of a white glove experience, especially in an industry like toy and game. We have other things besides toys and games in the store, but we position them as being brain healthy and have these employees that are well trained and are great at talking to customers about why products are good for them. And the online experience, and we'll get into that as we talk about how we started the company, but we also use our phone numbers on the top of the website. We want people to use our call center often.
You don't hide from the customer.
Yeah, exactly. We're not hiding. We want them to engage with us, and we think that's a differentiator for us in this marketplace, and especially as we're competing with the Amazon of the world. It's important to be differentiated. So we're definitely in the higher end position.
So would you say Amazon, just from a strict competitive sense, is kind of the biggest competitor?
Yeah, I think Amazon's every retailer's competitor at this point.
But what you've built shows something interesting, which is that it can be done. You can coexist in a very competitive category with Amazon, but you really need to differentiate, and it seems like you really need to specialize. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I think so. I think, people at category killers have beat Amazon. I think if they go at a specific, like we're a Christmas tree shop and we just sell Christmas trees, I think our category is a little bit unknown, and we're training and marketing to the brand to customers. So it's a little more niche-y, but I do think that if you go more with customer service in retail, you're going to win nowadays, because I think there's a price. Everybody wants lowest price, but that often doesn't come with customer service. So we have to provide something extra. And I think that's where we started the company, was really focusing on the brick and mortar customer service, and then layering in the e-commerce to that. We gain most of our customers today out of our store experience and marketing to them through a direct mail catalog. And then we bring them into the brand, and then we want to make them lifetime customers with us.
Got it.
So we're focused on the customer service angle once they become a member of the brand.
So let's go back to the origins, to roughly 2008. Maybe just briefly take us through the sequencing of what came first, online, e-tail, or the stores, how many stores, kind of how you figured out that right mix towards the beginning. Most of our viewers are founders, so I'm sure that would be of interest to them.
Yeah, sure. We actually did have a website. At the same time we launched our first store, we launched a website. But I would say in terms of effort and focus, the focus was more on the brick and mortar store. And I think that was why we were able to be successful out of the gate, because in that environment where we actually saw people engage with the products, the learning was rapid. It was very interesting to be a founder and be part of the very beginning, seeing customers touch your product every day, every second, seeing how they're reacting to your marketing messaging, seeing their faces, hearing their language. And when you're through a e-commerce site, you're not able to get that same type of feedback. So having the brick and mortar store allowed us to learn a lot more about our customer and what they liked.
Where was that first store?
It was in Chicago on Grand Avenue. Okay. We found a short-term lease that we were able to do downtown Chicago, right off Michigan Avenue. It wasn't an ideal, like if you were Nordstrom's of the world, you wouldn't have put your store right there. But for us, it got a lot of commuters and tourists to stop through the store. And because we were so hands-on and we were working the store, we were able to learn really rapidly what was working and what wasn't, and make changes on the fly. So that led us to go into opening more stores, and we quickly wanted to open different types of stores, like a mall store. Go ahead.
Before we get to more stores, I want to ask you a couple of questions about that first store. If I know you were in the store personally, watching the experience, interacting with customers. What were some of the things that you missed or hypotheses that you had when you started the business and you opened the store that you quickly said, oh boy, I was wrong about this? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, definitely. So many things. You know, I think that the number one concern of baby boomers, and that's where we started with, we were really focused on baby boomers, was cognitive decline. And so the store was really focused at the beginning about memory. Memory, it's broken down by 5 categories: memory, coordination, visual perception, word skills, and critical thinking. And so memory was in the front of the store. And at the entrance, there were signs that would say, sound familiar? Yeah. You lost your keys lately? Yeah. And there's really marketing to this idea, a little bit of this fear idea, like my brain is going, I'm going to market to you and try to provide a solution. And we learned quickly that that wasn't the right approach. There were that was a turnoff to people. Be specific, was it because it offended them, or it made them feel old and they didn't like that? What was the issue? Yeah, I think it's, when you go to a physical gym, you don't look at old people when you walk in. You want to see the buff person in the window who's got the big muscles that you may never get, right? More of an aspirational sell. Yeah, exactly. And I think that when you put it out there, like, are you losing your keys? You better come in here. It was a little bit too direct, and you need to be a little more subtle. It wasn't that people didn't come in and were interested in memory products. It just, they weren't wanting to tell you when they walked in the door immediately that they have a memory issue. That's a very kind of personal, not embarrassing at all. But it's like marketing any personal product, like an incontinence product. The way you have to do a roundabout is a bit tricky. So you fine-tuned those things in terms of positioning, signage, etc. How did you know when it was time to open the second store, which I'm sure was a big deal? And then how did you know when it was time to kind of invest more online? How did you make that decision? After the holiday, we opened right into holiday. It was the worst holiday on record. It was 2008. So it was a really tough holiday for retail in general. Yeah. We didn't have anything to go against. We didn't have comps at that time. So it was a different scenario for us. But it was a great holiday. The numbers were strong. And we said, we've got to go out and test other types of locations so that we can develop our real estate strategy. This was never going to be a 1-2 store project. The whole thought was this was going to be a retail chain across the country and needed to get to multiple stores quickly. So we tested a mall store, was our next store at Old Orchard Mall in Skokie, Illinois. Then we tested a Main Street location in Lincoln Square in Chicago as well, which was a downtown Main Street, but not a really high-end one, but a nice location for shopping. And we did those two right out of the gate. And then we did Naperville, a suburb Main Street location. And that next holiday season, we realized how nice it was to have the natural traffic of the malls. And that Old Orchard store outperformed the other stores. I think it was 2-to-1 for that holiday.
Just because you're fishing where the fish are. You've got traffic, and to some extent it might be a novel gift purchase. How much of the business is giftable or seasonal or holiday?
We're very seasonal. We're continuing to work on that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a space where, gifts seem seasonal. Brookstones and the Toys R Us of the world are very seasonal like we are. We have a health aspect to what we're trying to do, so we've continued to try to play that card and try to get people to shop earlier in the year, and birthdays and things that are not just all part of the holiday season. But we're about 50% in the holiday season, so it comes down to those last 2 months.
Yeah, sure. Which is kind of nerve-wracking, I'm sure.
Yes, every year.
Has anything worked in terms of spreading that out? If you could offer one suggestion or one strategy that's actually helped you shift or grow your non-holiday time?
I mean, we've been trying promotions, like having reasons for people to come into the store, like a product that's been very successful for us, having it be something that we put on a promotional price earlier in the year, and that brings people in. We've done, in terms of engagement, we did a great survey a year ago called "Which Brain Are You?" where we quickly tested in a 5-question quiz what kind of brain, if they're a critical thinking brain or memory brain, and that brought a lot of engagement into the brand, and we gained customers that would then come back at holiday. I would say we're still working on it. I think we're starting to become more of a natural retailer, following the natural retail calendar, where we were at the beginning really fighting that. We didn't want to be discounted. We wanted to stay at with no discounts, and we are starting to play around with discounting in a bigger way to try to drive traffic out of the holiday season.
Once you realized that malls were the place to be for marbles anyway, which isn't the case for all retailers, what did you do with the other stores, the other tests? Did you maintain them? Did you shift them to malls?
We've maintained them. Grand Avenue, actually, our first store was a short-term lease, so we didn't maintain that, but we moved to Water Tower Place, which is in downtown Chicago. We have kept them open. They've been profitable on their own right, and we will continue to do some main streets as a fill-in methodology, but malls are also easy to understand and know where they are across the country and how they perform. So it's an easier strategy in some ways. Malls are very tricky, though. They're very expensive to operate in, and rents, as everyone thinks rents are going down, rents in high-end malls are actually going up because the low-end malls, the C-level malls are not performing, but A-level malls are really getting a lot of retailers clamoring to be there.
And they all want to be around an Apple store in the mall, I'm sure.
Exactly. Exactly.
Would you say that you've thought about, how do you think about the decision between company-owned stores and franchises? I'm sure you've thought about that. Right now it's all company-owned stores.
Yes.
How did you make that decision? I'm sure if I know you, it wasn't like a random decision.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, we've thought about it. I think the brand was so new, and we were tweaking and testing and learning so much that the model wasn't solid enough to say, here's a package and go open your store. We've had a ton of interest internationally, domestically, for people to take the brand and franchise it and make it their own. I think that we just haven't been prepared to make that investment either. I think down the road there might be an international franchise opportunity for the brand. I'd like to own the brand in the U.S. until as we grow it, just because it is it's so new and we're trying to do things differently. I always look at franchises, and there's something so great about the manager in a franchise. They're in it to win it. They put their money on the table. They are great store managers or owners of that franchise, and people have done it successfully in a lot of lines of business. But I think for marbles, we really wanted to own the IP and the experience.
Got it.
As we were tweaking it out of the gate.
Got it. So obviously the online and e-commerce piece of the business helps in the markets that you don't have a store. You said, 40 stores roughly?
We'll have 40 by then, a little over 40 by the end of the year,
Okay.
yes.
So I get that, for markets where you don't have a store, they go online. In the markets where you do have a store, Chicago as an example, what role does online play? Are you trying to get them in the store once and then online, or vice versa? Don't you care? How do you kind of think about that?
I think probably 7 years ago when we started, I was like, oh, there's an online customer and there's a store customer, but we all know that that's very much changed. We do surveys every year to understand what's going on with our customers, and our customers are using the web for pre-shopping so often before they even come into the store. They've gone into the site to check out what they want. They come in with that knowledge of, oh, I read this review, or I looked at this product and it looks great. Can you give me some more information? So I think it's the same customer. I think that the great thing about having tourist locations like Water Tower Place and some of these other places is that we capture them in the store there.
Yeah.
Then go off and they have another way to get our products.
Yeah.
We're really pushing online. It's a great channel for us. We invested in a new website. We've done 3 new websites over the course of, as probably everybody has, over the course of our 7 years. And we invested a ton of money and time into making a new website last year, which had enhanced capabilities, had a more robust way to do omni-channel, and that will be as we grow. Everyone's doing pickup in store. Everyone's doing these.
It's become the ante, and you're going to have to do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's just how you participate in retail now is to have an omni-channel approach, and I think we have great content. I think we have more to do in terms of figuring out how to market our brand and get more people to come to the site who have not had an experience in the store. We tested a direct mail catalog in 2013, and then 2014 we did more. That has been a good way to get new customers for us. And,
wow. So just good old-fashioned print catalogs.
And it's the funniest thing. People are like, those are dead. Those are the dumbest things I've ever heard of. No one would think that the catalog business is back. But it really, it has an ROI. And marketing is hard to find an ROI sometimes. Right. And this, you really can see. You mail it. People come to your website. They buy what you put in the catalog. And you can analyze it, which is a great thing for a business.
And those catalogs are going to existing customers, or you're renting lists to hit new people?
We're doing both. We're growing our list. Our list becomes more and more fruitful as we get more people to join the list. And then we are also renting lists from agencies that put people's names together.
Great. Fantastic. So in the time remaining, Lindsay, I want to shift totally to women entrepreneurs. Sure. You're a woman entrepreneur, so you're the right person to ask. So there's been just a huge surge in women entrepreneurship, the interest in women entrepreneurship over the past 3, 4, 5 years. I'm interested in your take, maybe any specific challenges you faced, and what advice you would offer to not just women entrepreneurs, but to venture capitalists, some of whom watch this show, and what advice you would offer them to attract that market and to nurture it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a very hot topic for me. Sure, I've been been an entrepreneur for 7 years, and I think it's challenging. I think even though it's growing, as you say, and people are interested in it, it's a much smaller population than you would think. And I think that on the venture capital side and on the investor side, it's even a smaller population to see that you're actually engaging with women. It's hard. I would say if you're a woman going into it, you've got to be prepared that it is a very male-dominated world, and that you have to be prepared to handle that and to be accepting of it. You can challenge it. I think I challenge it every day, and I think I appreciate that challenge. I'm a risk taker, and I like to, go into every board meeting with all male board members. I don't love that, but that's the case that it is. I pitched this business to over 100 people last year as we were going out for funding. I probably pitched it to 2 female groups or had females involved. It is just different than you would think. I think in corporate America, there's more in bigger companies. There are more women.
The movement has been a bit faster.
Yeah.
What advantage? Women have so many advantages, I think, at doing this. But what have you learned that can actually help or accelerate the business and leverage your position as a woman entrepreneur?
Sure. I think that from a leadership perspective and how I engage with my team, I think there's a lot of value in who I am and how I can relate to an industry and to the customer. So, most of my customers are females.
Right. That helps a lot. Sure.
It helps a lot. A lot of my employees are females. I think that it's just the gap is that most of the people that are funding businesses like Marbles are males. And so you've got to realize that as you go into it, if you're going to go for funding.
Right.
I think in terms of internal leadership, I think I've done a good job. I've been, working hard at it, and I've had my ups and downs. But I definitely have gained a team of people that work extremely hard for me and create a lot of value for this business. And I think on that side, there's so many things that women do that make and develop teams and leadership styles that work well.
So do you buy the myth that women and the way they're wired are a bit more comfortable with the emotional intelligence aspects of business? Is that a nice way of saying what you're saying? Just between us girls.
I think so. I don't know. I think that every individual is different, but I do think that women have an advantage in understanding how the emotional complexities of what motivates people. And I think that there are opportunities and advantages to being a woman and running a business. I think at the other side, there are a lot of things that you have to combat. And I think that we as women entrepreneurs are hesitant always to talk about it because we still have investors. We still have teams that are working for us, and they're male and female. But I think that it is an area that needs to continue to evolve. And I think people like myself and other women that are in positions of power need to speak up about it. And I admire all those who are willing to say something. Yeah. I think there's a lot of great articles about women moving on up, but I would say the numbers aren't showing that in a real way in terms of pay or in terms of responsibility in the entrepreneurial world. Is there an organization or a cause or a group that you've gotten involved in that you think is a good resource for potentially for women entrepreneurs? I won't be disingenuous. I haven't gotten involved in anything yet. I've been working my butt off for 7 years to try to get this thing to where it is, but I believe in it. I talk to women entrepreneurs. I am open to having communication with anybody about where we're going with Marbles and where I think it needs to go in terms of the world of entrepreneurship. But I would just say the one thing I will just say honestly, it's hard and it's not for someone who's not willing to take risk and not willing to be beat down and get right back up. And I'm not saying that's any different for a male entrepreneur, but there is a little bit, there's more camaraderie when there are more men around the table. There's a little more ego that gets you through those days and I think the female role in entrepreneurship just has to be a little bit more willing to take it, get down, dust it off, and keep going. Well, and the fact that your customers are primarily women is a huge business advantage for you. When you're meeting with an investor, you can say, look, my customers are women. Why wouldn't you want a woman CEO? It just doesn't make sense. Great. Right. I think retail's like that. I mean, in general, there should be a lot of women running retail, you would think. There are more than other industries for sure, but I definitely think that makes a lot of sense. Fantastic. Well, this has been great. Where can people get in touch with you if they want to continue that discussion, and how do they learn more about Marbles? Sure. So we have our website, as we've discussed, marblesthebrainstore.com, the longest URL in the world. And then my email is lindsay@marblesthebrainstore.com. Again, very long email, but I'm happy to discuss any of it. But I really I'm not saying don't go into it. I've had a great experience. I've really learned so much. I have this amazing team that I've been able to grow, and I can't wait to see where Marbles is going to go in the future. We have a lot to do this year, so hopefully we'll see some of you who've watched this show in our stores this year or on our website. You're always selling, right? Always be selling. And look at the T-shirt, too. Good branding. Great. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for the time, and we appreciate it, and we'll have a great holiday season. You too. Thank you so much. Bye, Lindsay. Bye.